Discrimination, Madam Speaker, in any form obviously is ugly and is unacceptable. I think all of us here in this chamber would agree on that. But to me, Madam Speaker, as I'm trying to understand what is the goal, what's the purpose here, I just want to make sure through you, Madam Speaker, to the proponent of the bill, a few questions.
You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, Madam Speaker, equal work on the job. Through you, Madam Speaker, that's to me a sentence or words that's a little difficult to necessarily interpret consistently all the time. So through you, Madam Speaker, may the good proponent of the bill explain to us what is equal work on a job. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I would say that equal work would be based on the job description and what the responsibilities of that job is. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
Through you, Madam Speaker, in this equal work, the work is the same, the work is identical, whether it's a male or a female. But through you, Madam Speaker, would the years of experience be considered when we look at equal pay and equal work? The work done is the same. There's no difference as far as the work that is being done, but obviously there's a difference in terms of years of experience in doing the same work. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I would say that equal work would include equal experience. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
So through you, Madam Speaker, so I'm clear. So if in my office, to take as an example, if I have a nurse who happens to be a female doing a particular set of duties that she's designated to do, through you, Madam Speaker, if I now hire a male nurse doing the same job, saying the identical job, but that male nurse happens to have 4 or 5 years extra experience in doing that job, but is new in my practice, through you, Madam Speaker, would that be equal pay, or can that male nurse be allowed to be making more income since he has 4 or 5 years extra on the job, though not at my practice? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I'm not sure. Through you.
Representative Srinivasan.
So through you, Madam Speaker, I'm not sure what the good representative is not sure about my question or about the answer to my question. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I was referring to not being sure about the answer to your question. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
So through you, Madam Speaker, if this bill were to move forward without us knowing as to what should be fair compensation to somebody who comes from another location, but I happen to hire A, B, it happens to be a male doing the same job, would I, as an employer, am I liable for the fact that the female nurse did not get the same compensation? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'm sorry I didn't hear all of that, but I did want to go back to the question that you previously asked me and state that experience is experience. So even if the experience was outside of the realm before your hiring, that experience would still be considered when you're looking at seniority. Through you, Madam Speaker, and I'm just going to ask you to repeat the last question, please. Through you.
Representative Srinivasan.
So through you, Madam Speaker, let's go back to my first question because the second was a follow-up to the first. So if I understand the first clearly, maybe there's no reason for the second for me to ask the second question. So work done somewhere else, 4 years, 3 years, and then comes to my practice, to my office, or to anyone's office, and does comparable work as a female employee is doing, we are not required, through you, Madam Speaker, that the salaries of both those employees be the same, because the work is the same. It's just the number of years of experience, but not in that office, not in that business. It is somewhere else. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, that is correct.
Representative Srinivasan.
Through you, Madam Speaker, if the employee for similar job, when they talk about equal pay, does that equal pay is only in terms of the rate of pay, hourly pay, whatever the compensation comprises of, or does it include the entire compensation package as opposed to just pay alone? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, it would include the entire package.
Representative Srinivasan.
Through you, Madam Speaker, so if an employee who happens to be a female, for personal reasons, chooses to be working not a full-time job because she prefers to spend some quality time at home with her children, and her male counterpart who works in the office, same job, same everything, but puts in more hours because that's what he decides to do, does the compensation in terms of pay and the total compensation, do they have to be the same? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, if I'm understanding the question correctly, the fact that one is working part-time and another full-time, that would be a difference. It wouldn't be comparable. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
Through you, Madam Speaker, that employee who happens to be a female in this situation is not part-time. She is working, but she decides that she's not ready to work 40-hour week and decides to put in 30 hours a week, which is not uncommon. And the male person who works in the office puts in 40 hours or close to that. So it's not a part-time job. Through you, Madam Speaker, would then all the benefits and the compensation, including the pay, do they have to be the same? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, if they're not working the same amount of time, then that would make it different. So I don't know, okay, maybe I shouldn't say part-time work. I think that I would have a question in response to the question. Would the pay be, so are you saying that through you, Madam Speaker, is the question based on the fact that both of these employees, male and female, are making the same amount of money, they have the same benefits package, but we're allowing the female worker to work less time because she doesn't want to work the 40 hours that the male counterpart is working? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I think the good chair of the Labor Committee put it very well. If the female employee decides for personal reasons to work only 30 hours a week, because obviously she has other commitments that are a priority to her, and the male counterpart who works in the same job, same duties, decides to put in the 40 hours, will it be necessary, as far as pay and compensation is concerned, that both the 30-hour employee and the 40-hour employee be identical if their experience is also the same? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, no.
Representative Srinivasan.
Through you, Madam Speaker, maybe the good chairwoman can expand on that no, because I didn't understand what it meant. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, the question was, would they be eligible for the same benefit package? And this is for clarity. If one was working 30 hours and another was working 40 hours, the hours that they're working are not equal. So no, they would not be, it wouldn't be mandated that they receive the same benefit package even though the experience may be the same. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
Through you, Madam Speaker, so for the example that we are using here this afternoon, I would just say a nurse, because obviously that's the world that I live in, but it can be anyone. So through you, Madam Speaker, if a nurse who happens to be a female puts in 30 hours a week and a male nurse puts in 40 hours a week, I'm not talking about the total compensation, which obviously will be very different because of the 10-hour difference. But I'm looking at the per hour on the hourly compensation between the two. Can we then say that the male nurse may be paid, could be paid more because he happens to be working 40 hours per hour, not a total compensation, but on an hourly basis? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, no.
Representative Srinivasan.
So through you, Madam Speaker, the no, in as much as that the compensation has to be the same on an hourly basis. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, if I'm understanding the question correctly, no.
Representative Srinivasan.
Through you, Madam Speaker, if at the time of hire, when the employee is being hired, because this is real life, so we're not talking hypothetical situations here. This happens in our offices day in and day out. And I want to make sure that when we leave, the message is clear to everyone. When we have a new hire, there are certain rules and regulations we say before they accept that job. Obviously, it's mutual. The job is not mandatory. And we might say the job requires you to work on a Saturday. The job requires you to work at 6 p.m. and 8 p.m., different hours, times of the day. So through you, Madam Speaker, the number of hours may be comparable. The work is identical. No difference as far as work is concerned at all. It's a new nursing duty, just to keep that as an example, ongoing example for conversation. But one employee happens to be a male, is willing to work past 6 p.m. The female employee, for personal reasons, does not want to work past 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Does the compensation have to be the same? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I'm not sure.
Representative Srinivasan.
So those are some of my concerns. I mean, there is no question discrimination is unacceptable. I mean, we all are on the same page on that. But this bill, I think, needs a lot more clarification. In real life situations, we're not talking about men being paid more or women being paid less, necessarily based on just the amount of money they take home. But the question is, what is the time of the day they're working? We talked about, some concerns were raised about differential pay. A lot of offices, a lot of practices are open in the evenings, as you're well aware of, Madam Speaker, for convenience sake to patients. Some of them are open on Saturdays. Mine is, once again, for convenience to patients. So my concern is moving forward. The number of hours is the same, the work is the same, but the male employee gives a little more by working hours which the female employee is not necessarily willing to work for personal reasons. Then does this equal pay for equal job, will that apply, or could they file a discrimination with CHRO? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I have to apologize. There was some conversation going over here, and I didn't hear the last portion of that. Could you ask the good gentleman to please repeat that? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan, would you mind repeating that, please?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I definitely will. So we're talking about, in a nutshell, differential pay, through you, Madam Speaker, for different hours of the day that the employee works. Equal work, same amount of work, same kind of work, but right now that work is being done past the conventional 9 to 5. A is done over weekends. B, which the male employee is willing to do, but the female employee, for family reasons, chooses not to do so. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, I would say as long as the hours are equal, irregardless to the time of day. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
So through you, Madam Speaker, if a female nurse employee puts in 30 hours of work during, let us say, from a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. shift, and the male employee, a nurse, puts in 30 hours, but is working for the office, because the office is open past 5 o'clock. The office is open on Saturday mornings and for emergencies on Sundays as well. Through you, Madam Speaker, the number of hours are the same number of hours, whether it be 30 or 40, well below the overtime time frame, but they're not done in the same time of the day. Through you, Madam Speaker, can the male employee in that situation be compensated at a higher pay? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, if there's a pay differential in order, yes. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
Through you, Madam Speaker, will this pay differential have to be established before he or she accepts her job? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, it could be. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, Madam Speaker, so if the female nurse accepts a job saying that she is willing to stay past 5 p.m., is willing to come in on Saturdays and Sundays, and then finds that it is difficult for her to balance, work-life balance becomes difficult, very difficult. And so she says, I'm going to cut back the hours, not work past 5 o'clock, not come in over the weekends, but still puts in the 30 hours of work in a regular time. Does the male employee, can he be given the extra pay or the pay differential because of the time frame? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Porter.
Through you, Madam Speaker, if the time frame warrants pay differential, yes. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Srinivasan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the good chair of the Labor Committee for answering her questions for me. And as I said earlier on, I just wanted to clarify a lot of day-to-day practical situations that happen in the real life, in the real world. And we are, as we always will, never accept discrimination in any form and every form. Thank you, Madam Speaker.